Okay, we should be live, folks. Welcome back to this interactive analysis of the Ocarina of Time. We're almost done. We're in the final temple. We've already done 3 of the rooms, so I expect we're just going to clear this up today. But welcome back to the live stream. We got our big analysis coming out tomorrow, so if you guys want to see the full analysis of this game, be sure to check that out tomorrow around 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But I think the first thing I want to call out, though, before we get started, is the nature of a mandala, because this is something that's very important in subconscious symbolism and something that we see in Zelda a lot, but most notably in the Temple of Time, and now looking around, actually, we see it in this temple, too, with this central point being surrounded by all the different aspects, as if Link has to express all the different facets of things that he's learned while he's been on his journey here. And the mandala, Carl Jung noticed that when a mandala was present, especially in dreams or in myth, it meant that we were approaching a completion of the self, a more unified aspect of the self, as opposed to something that was partial. We had something that was central. And the mandalas tended not to have gods or anything in the middle. It was always a sort of emptiness or an implied completion, or maybe like an eyeball or something, They were all symbols of self-completion, of self, reconciliation. And we get that, if you want to, I don't have it open right now, but if you go look at the Temple of Time, you'll notice immediately that you have the 6 or 7 medallions surrounding the Triforce, which is an even bigger, symbol of completion than the medallions themselves. And in the center of that, you have the Master Sword. And, the Master Sword, to me, is very similar to the cross that Christ carries, which, Jung talks about that too, that the cross or whatever symbol that a person carries, that the hero carries, is himself, is the self. What you carry is the self, and that's the center of the mandala, right? That's the center of the circle. That's the thing that it's all leading up to, because, to get kind of mystical about it, the self is the unification of God and man, of above and below, of past and future. It's the synthesis. The sword has access to both, and therefore the self has access to both. It's pretty deep stuff, but that's why mandalas are so profound. All right, let's see if we can, boom. Maybe that helps me. Oh yeah, there we go. And it looks like we're going to need the hammer again. But pay attention, pay attention to mandalas wherever you can find them, because where you find a mandala, you usually find some pretty deep meaning as well. And that meaning is very important to a story like this, a story about a hero who's trying to transcend himself or transcend his limitations, which you see a lot of the time in these coming-of-age stories. Uh-oh! Don't start me off at the entrance, son of a gun. Is the chest at least still there? No. Okay, let's do this right. Maybe the chest is still there and it just hasn't loaded back up yet. There it is, yeah, it's still there. You don't touch me. You don't get to eat a mirror shield today. And I imagine this isn't the first or the last time that we're going to see this in Zelda, but it is very prevalent in the Temple of Time. Although all these symbols are adding up to this transcendent thing. You even see on the the mirror shield here, we have this symbol of spirit, from the Temple of Spirit, or whatever you want to call the temple. What was that? The Sandy Temple, right? The symbol of completion, of 2 sides coming and being conjoined into one. The synthesis is almost complete. And that's because, Link does represent a sort of mediator. Ah, there's the golden gauntlets, hell yeah. He's there to mediate the tension between Zelda and Ganondorf. You could say that Zelda and Ganondorf are kind of the primary aspects of this universe, They're the primary things we're concerned with. Link is a sort of alternative third figure. He's something alternative. You know, he represents a solution, right? An easing of the tension, which is ultimately what he does, because as we're about to see, Ganondorf does not get defeated. It's not like the evil goes away. You know, evil going away is a very Western conception. I mean, that's not really how evil works in general. It's part of the universe. You can't get rid of it. You know, that's why there's problems with trinities a lot of the time, is because there's a mediative aspect. And that mediative aspect is trying to suppress one side or the other. Usually the evil side, though. I guess it could go in the other direction as well. You know, it's trying to suppress a part and restore order to a system that's inherently imbalanced. Like the number 3. You know, 3 is an unbalanced number. It's not even. It doesn't include both dualities. I mean, if you even look at a triangle, you know, if you move one point, it mediates the tension between the other 2 points. Whereas on an alternative shape, like a square, you can move one of the points around and another point might still be stable and still. You know, it gets geometrical too. Something that Plato addressed in his very, very complicated text called the Timaeus, which is about the nature of how existence came to be. And Plato certainly wasn't 100% on the ball about it, but for his time, he figured out quite a bit just from the structure of number and form. Okay, we got to get out of here because now that we have the golden gauntlets, we can lift up these big ol' suckers right here. Hell yeah. Yeah, just chunk that right at Ganondorf. Like Ganondorf was taking a nap, and he's like, "Who's throwing shit in the hallways?" I just had that giant pillar installed. I thought that would stop him, but I guess not. I shouldn't have hidden the golden gauntlets in the castle. Maybe should have thrown them into the lake of lava. But yeah. So the mandala symbolism's pretty prevalent, and now that we're reaching the end of the completion of the system. All the pieces of the medallions come together, then all the pieces of the Triforce come together. Oh, I guess I better get that Skulltula. All the pieces of the Triforce come together, and then the unification of the system of Hyrule comes together. So, you know, you have it coming in levels here. Everything's sort of coalescing in a mandalic way. And look, we have the symbol of the Spirit Temple here again. You know, I don't know why that's on the pillars. I wonder what that's trying to signify. Because you wouldn't expect that, really, to be in such a random place. I don't know about that one. Something to think about. All right, guys, let's get our extra armor. I don't know if we're going to need it for Ganondorf, but I always like to get it just anyway. And see a fairy again, why not? Why not see the fairy again? I love being screamed at by half-naked ladies in the water. If anyone laughed like that at me, I would head for the hills. I would, even if especially if I couldn't see who it was. Like, that's like a horror movie sound to me. Welcome, Stink. I am the great fairy of courage. So the final fairy. And this courage is gonna bolster up my health quite a bit. I always kind of hated that this was at the end of the game. Like, I could have used all these hearts for some of the more difficult... Not that this game's very difficult, but I could have used some of those hearts earlier on in the game. You know, maybe if there was like a new game plus mode or something, that would be cool. Yeah, but whatever. I could complain all day. Zelda's a wonderful game. Isn't it like the highest rated game on... I don't know where what is it, Rotten Tomatoes? Do they do games or... No, it's Game Critic? I don't know. I don't pay too much attention to the ratings, but I think Zelda's like the highest rated game of all time, and I don't know if it deserves that just from like a gameplay standpoint, but from a story standpoint, you know, I mean, I don't think we'd have things like Elden Ring or the more complicated 3D stories in general if we didn't have something like Zelda. If anything, it added this like really cinematic nature. Oh, hey, Ketzer. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the final stream of Ocarina of Time, because we're going to finish this up today. Ooh, oh, what is it? Oh, it's just a spider. So we're in the Room of Light, which there was no Temple of Light. You know, that was sort of something Link was just given. Though they did have one in concept when they were making this game, but it got turned into the Temple of Spirit, right? So Spirit, Light, I mean, I think they kind of just fused the elements into one there, because you kind of have the same thing, you know? In symbolism, light tends to represent spirit. Light is spirit. You know, it's the energy, it's the libido, it's the life force, it's the thing that gets everything going. It's the thing that Link ultimately represents. Well, maybe not. I think Zelda might be more the representative of light, you know, and the ego. Light tends to represent the ego as well. But Link is sort of an extension of Zelda to mediate Ganondorf. You know, like that's his whole purpose. Zelda calls upon him as an I'm just opening them all, I don't care. That's crazy. I mean, there's so many games, and this game got the highest on Metacritic. I guess it deserves it, though. I guess it deserves it. It's my favorite game, you know. So I mean, that's where I'd put it, I suppose. But now, come on. I'm missing a key. You know what? I think it's back in this room. Let's just look around. Huh. Huh. Maybe we'll come back to the Room of Light. Yeah, 99. I mean, what would a perfect game... Is anything perfect? Nothing's perfect. You couldn't have a perfect video game. I mean, not really. It would have to, like, fulfill all your dreams and fantasies and wishes all in one. You know, like, it'd have to be a game where you just, like, plugged it in, and you were like, I wish for this experience, and then it just generated it for you perfectly. So... 99 is about as close as you can get. Also, hey Josh. Hey Josh, how's it going? Now, I'm missing a few rooms here. Which one have I not done? We did Shadow. We have Light still. Oh, I didn't do the Fire room. I thought I did, but I guess not. But yeah, we're completing the mandala here. You know, the final... representation that Link has actually achieved all the things that the medallions say he has achieved. You know, I think I described them in my video as, you know, one represents home, one represents community, one represents self-reflection. That's the water temple, right? Self-reflection. In another sense, it's love, you know, because you have Ruto. But it's the abandonment of love. Link abandons, I mean, you know, because that could have been a relationship for him. I mean, Saria, too. In fact, all of these characters are relationships that could have been for Link, but ended up not being because they had something more to do, and he had something more to do, you know? They're symbolic characters. They're characters of symbolism. Their goal isn't to get married or to, you know, have a nice job or to live life. They sacrifice of themselves for us, you know? Oh, God, I forget I'm timed here. So that we might live. You know, it's very Jesus-y sounding when you put it that way, but I mean, that's the way it is. It is a little Jesus-y. It is a little self-sacrificial, you know? Or like the Jedi. The Jedi do this too. They can't have relationships or any attachments because they're the things that rectify the universe, that keep the balance. Oh yeah, I can believe that. The 3D one, definitely. I mean, you know, it's a remake. Does a remake really deserve a perfect score, even if it is of a near-perfect game? I don't know. I never took game ratings too seriously because, I mean, there's games that are rated horrendously low that I enjoy. And it's just a matter of, like, was it for you? Was that your cup of tea? You know, everyone's different. I'd almost think like a universal rating is kind of hard to achieve. You know, it's dependent on... Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You know, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Now, what's going on here? Wait a minute. There's a Triforce right here. I see it now. I see it. My memory had to kick in for that one. I didn't know that was there. Oh man, we're almost there. We're gonna go fight Ganondorf. Here it comes. And Ganondorf's really the key, I think, to understanding this game. Like, he's the big mystery, you know? We expect Link, a hero, to sort of right things, you know? We expect Zelda, someone who tries to keep order, but Ganondorf is a mystery. We don't know too much about him. But it's his problem. And I think what helped me was looking at the kami in Shinto myth of Susanoo, you know? Because they have some stark differences, Susanoo and Ganondorf. They have almost the same story. Like, I'll go over it in the lore video, but they have almost the same story, except for one thing. Susanoo not only plays the role of the villain, but also the role of the hero. He does the damage to the world, and then he redeems himself, which is what makes, it much different than Zelda. Zelda is the Legend of Zelda, the mythos is a trinity. And the mythos of Shinto and Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukuyomi, that's a triad. And a triad is very different from a trinity. A triad incorporates that fourth element, you know, because there's a great alchemist, I forget her name, but she says, first came one, and from one came two, and from two came three, and from three came four, which was the one again. So 4 and 1 get equated. So you can still have this quaternity, even with just 3 symbols, right? Well, Zelda doesn't have that. Ganondorf never redeems himself, never completes the quaternity triad, right? He never completes the system. Link has to do it. Link is a compensation for what Ganondorf cannot do, which is why Ganondorf doesn't get defeated. I mean, like we said earlier, you can't defeat evil. Evil never goes away, you know, or if you want to look in the Christian tradition, like, God throws all the sinners and Satan into hell, right? But they don't go away. They're still, it's an unresolved tension, you know, which is probably why there's so many dramatic rifts in Christianity. It's an unresolved tension. Ganondorf gets sealed away. He gets put away. He gets repressed. He gets stored for a later time. So maybe we can solve the issue next time, or maybe he can. And what I would really like to see, more than anything, is a Zelda game where Ganondorf is the protagonist. I would like to see a story, or maybe alongside Link. You know, maybe in the way that Tetra was a partner for Link in Wind Waker. Well, maybe Ganondorf in an alternate form, a reborn form. You know, like remember in Dragon Ball Z how once they killed Majin Buu, they had Oob who came back, and then Oob was like a really nice version of Majin Buu, right? That would be cool to. Hey, dude, what are you doing up there? It would be really cool to see that with Ganondorf. A redemptive arc for Ganondorf. Who's Danendorf? Ganondorf's lame brother. Danendorf. Yeah, a greater evil, you know? A greater evil. Like we see in so many games, you know? And that's what that would make it really 100% represent the Shinto myth, because Susanoo ends up going on a quest to slay a true evil, you know, and that true evil is Yamato no Orochi, who's like an 8-headed dragon, right? So that once you incorporate the good and the bad, you know, you can slay the true evil, which was the ignorance, which was the real destructive aspect. Woo! Woo! Up! I'm getting my butt kicked. How about a light arrow? Haha! Didn't see that coming. Woo! No, I want those hearts. It cost me some hearts, but I got the hearts. But yeah, and you know there's some fanfics out there of this stuff, and I think everyone sort of feels it in a sense, you know? It's part of the mystery of Ganondorf. Like, why is he doing what he's doing? Now, I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, and I know they have some higher concepts about Ganondorf that I'm not necessarily aware of. But, you know, that is the big tension. Well, I still think Demise is Ganondorf. You know, he still represents the negative aspect of the world. But Ganondorf slaying Demise, yeah, that might be it. That might be the thing. You know, slaying his godlike self. And another interesting thing about Ganondorf is the first few games, he's just that pig monster. You know, he's almost just like Demise. He's just this aspect of evil and monstrosity. But eventually, I think starting in this game, he becomes a man. He becomes a self, an ego, and symbolically going from animal nature to human nature represents the birth of an ego, the birth of self-reflection, that he can look back on his monster self and be like, whoa, what was I and what am I to become, right? And, but he never does that. In fact, at the end of most games, he just reverts back to his animal nature. He turns back into the pig, you know? And it's symbolic of the repression just unleashed, you know, no longer held back, but just a complex, as Jung would call it. The complex makes itself known. Just like if you had an anger complex, like a father complex, and someone reminded you of your father, there might be a part of you that goes out of control, you know, that becomes more animal than man. You know, this happened to a friend of mine recently, who I know he's got a lot of father issues, and he got confronted with them basically by somebody who was kind of an asshole. And he had to, you know, sort of quit his job because he couldn't handle it, you know, because he was going to like fight this guy because there was a part of him that was just this pure anger and hatred that was separate from his actual self. And that's the nature of a complex. And here's the man himself. Interesting, too, that Navi gets removed from this first part. You know, because Navi has sort of been the guide for Link, his guiding light, and it's almost like saying that, hey, you're on your own, buddy. You know, like, you're gonna have to do this with all the things you've learned. You can't rely on the power you got from the great Deku tree anymore. Deku. I know it's Deku. I always say Deku. And I know it's Ocarina, but I always say Ocarina. Old habits die hard. Oh, right. I gotta shoot him with the light arrow. Ah, too late. I forgot. You know, but I think Pig Ganon to Ganondorf is like Shadow Link to Link. Link is able to slay his shadow. Ganondorf isn't able to do that. You know, it's outside of his capacity as he stands. As long as he has this lust for power and this refusal to face himself, he won't ever be able to slay his pig self. And that's kind of like Susanoo slaying Yamato no Orochi. You know, slaying he used to be the destructive aspect, but he turns into something that slays a destructive aspect, and therefore you have redemption. Well, until he can do that, Link has to be his redemption. You know, Link redeems Ganondorf, at least, you know, in the scope of the world of Hyrule. Like, he's the relief. He relieves the tension of the system, and therefore we can have order again. In the same way that Jesus relieves the tension in Christianity, right? He relieves it by nullifying the sin. You know, he sacrifices of himself to nullify something that can't be integrated. You know, which has always been, I mean, I'm not getting critical of religion because even as Jung stated, You know, there's a way to view Christianity where all the things are integrated, right? But in kind of the way we view it in modern society, we view sin as this horrible thing that has to be done away with, has to be rejected. And so we have Jesus to come in and sort of mediate that tension. He mediates the tension between sin and goodness or holiness or whatever you want to call it, you know? He keeps them unified but separate, which is what we see with Link, you know? I mean, eventually Zelda and Ganondorf have to come to some sort of terms to accept each other's place in the world, you know, instead of having this fight. And then if they can't do that, then Link is going to have to come in and fix things himself. He's a mediator. He mediates. Boy. I'm trying real hard to look at the chat, but Ganondorf's taking up a lot of my attention. I don't think he's hit me yet. This is kind of cool. I wonder if I can no-hit Ganondorf. Yep, there we go. Oh yes, we're getting a Zelda movie. Ganondorf having an asthma attack over here. Stink! You smell so bad! Yeah, the Zelda movie. I'm scared for the Zelda movie. I will not lie. Here's all I'm saying. I think Link should remain a silent protagonist. If they take that away, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to give it a chance, but I really think Link needs to remain a silent protagonist. You know? Like, it would be so cool. They could make it this really interesting art film, but I know they're not going to do that. They're going to Hollywood it up. Just like they did with Mario and Chris Pratt and all that stuff. Not that those movies were bad, but they weren't what I wanted them to be, you know? They were fun, though. I enjoyed the Mario movie, but I think it could have been better. In fact, I think Zelda should probably be a Ghibli movie, if anything. Without a strong, righteous mind, he could not control the power of the gods. Yep. Let's go, Zelda. You lead the way. You know, I think there was a version of this game where if you had pirated The Legend of Zelda, I saw this in a YouTube short or something, but if you had pirated a version of The Legend of Zelda, she would literally, like, open one of the doors and then lock it again and sort of just leave you behind so you couldn't complete the game. Just like, well, you stole the game, so you get to die in Ganondorf's tower. You know what? I'll be right there, Zelda. I am going to grab some of these goobers here. Get my magic back up and everything. Oh, no, don't catch on fire. Ooh. Oh, the last fight? I don't remember what it's like. I haven't seen this one, you know. It was pretty cool and dramatic in the Ocarina of Time with Ganondorf's big snarly snout. In the original on the N64. But I don't really remember what it looks like in this 3D version. The last time I played the 3D version was when it came out. You know, I haven't played it since then. But I played the crap out of it. I think I got every heart piece and everything. I really enjoyed coming back to the game on a mobile platform. All right, what do we got here? We got some skeleton bros. I remember as a kid, this part stressed me out so much. This is not a lot of time to do this. Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Come on, dude. I don't have all day for you to dance around me. Let's go, let's go, let's go! All right, here we are. I think maybe one more gate after this one. I'm calmed down now. The skeleton guys, they stress me out. But hey, what are you? This one re-dead. Who are you? Oh no, he's choking me. Get off of me. He's a distraction. I knew it, but I fought him anyway. Just the one re-dead. Here we go, we made it. It's okay, Zelda. I've been hit by worse than falling lava rocks. Have you been to Death Mountain? It happens every day. Cool. It was nice just to see everything redesigned, though, you know. I mean, I did play the N64 version like 50 plus times or so. And just to see it re-skinned a little bit, just, you know, it gave it a new breath of air for me. Interesting that we see gargoyles too on this castle, because gargoyles tend to be, you know, sort of the guardians of the inner sanctum of the self. You know, they're scary. They're scary purposefully, because going into the inner sanctums can be a dangerous thing. You don't want to stay there. You know, it's a sacred place that isn't meant to always be approached. Oh yeah, it is very bright. It is super bright. But, you know, I wonder if I can do my hookshot thing. I used to always do this. Wait, no. No. Hold on. Oh, wait. No. Yeah, there we go. I don't know why that makes me laugh. Ooh, I do like the little animation they gave Link there, where he holds it with both hands. It is very bright. Oh my god. You're right, Josh. It is super bright. And they kind of took the snarl off his snout. His snort's not as snowly. His nose. Yeah, they took the snarl off his nose. That was like the one animation that gave it depth. Ah, whatever. I'm not going to complain too much. Oh, right, I don't have my sword. And I didn't get the Big Goron sword, so we're going to have to use the Megaton hammer. There's another tie to Shinto right there too, though, the Big Goron sword, right? Because it starts off as a broken sword, and it's a very long sword, right? And Susanoo wields a sword called the Ten Hands Sword. It's a very long sword, which becomes broken in the fight with the dragon, which is when he has to switch to the Kusanagi, or in Zelda terms, the Master Sword, you know, the real legendary blade. Now, of course, we get an indestructible Begoron sword, but I think that's just more of a kind of a bonus quest, you know. This really is kind of an easy fight, though. Oh, he's like, ah, that's not gonna work. Get under the legs. There we go. Hey, Zelda, you want to give me some magic too, maybe? Oh, it just got really dark. Yeah, weird. Weird all around. And they made his tail a little bit too shiny. You know, like we weren't gonna figure out to hit it. Like, look at this thing. It's big and bright and shiny. It doesn't need to be. But it's okay. I'm not gonna complain too much. This is fun. It's still good old fun. I wonder what Navi has to say. Navi, I finally want to talk to you. I have no idea what his weak point. Thanks, Navi. Thank you, Navi. So useful, as usual. Navi's like, I don't know, you figure it out. Like, no one's gonna stop me from helping you here, but I ain't gonna help you. All right, here we go. The final blow. And I wonder where that light comes from. You know, did Zelda infuse it with light? That's my assumption, but I don't know. Maybe it just comes from the Master Sword itself, or from Fi, even though Fi hadn't been conceptualized yet, even. Yeah, you can't see the tail in the original. I mean, it's just there, you know, and you just have to figure out to hit it. I mean, Navi locks onto it automatically, so you can kind of figure it out. And here we go, Ganondorf about to get sealed away into the mandala itself, you know, so the symbol of self-completion. But again, this is a great repression. Ganondorf is not done away with. It's not, the world isn't healed. You know, it's just like we put a Band-Aid on a wound we actually need to take care of. Got some curry I'm eating. It's delicious. You. Curse you, Zelda. Curse you, sages. Curse you, stink. Like, I almost feel bad for Ganondorf here. I really do. Like, not because he's failed, but just because he doesn't get it. It's like he's unable to it's really sad he's just not able to reconcile himself. You know? He's stuck in a loop. I mean, that's the nature of a repression. When you have a repression, you tend to get stuck in a loop. And this tends to happen in your dreams, too, is something Carl Jung noticed. Is that you would get stuck repeating the same process over and over and over and over again until you finally were able to make a change. You know? Also, this is where Link makes his greatest sacrifice, too. He gives up his very self. Everything he's become is about to be undone, and he's sent back into the past. Though I think Hyrule Historia says that this is where the timeline splits, so, I mean, I don't know, that seems kind of a retconned explanation to me, to try and define a myth, which is ultimately kind of undefinable in logistical terms, right? And Zelda admits that Link wouldn't be part of this if she hadn't have dragged him into it, further cementing in the idea that he's the mediator. He's the arm of Zelda, you know, which is suppressing the darkness in this world. Like, if none of this makes sense, again, check out the video tomorrow. Not to advertise myself too much, but the video tomorrow is going to explain everything I've been talking about. And I think it's going to explain a good deal of the depth of the system of The Legend of Zelda in general. Yeah. Yeah, he can't go back to the forest, you know? He gives up his past and his future. That's a good point, Josh. Gives up the past and the future. So where's he to go? Well, he has to start all over again. Now, what is starting all over again? You know, it's regeneration. What happens in your life? Like, you know, one day you're going to die and everything you did will be for nothing, right? But hey, guess what? The human biology has made it so that you can have a child. You can regenerate yourself, you know, and that child will be different than from what you are. But still, the spirit, the life force goes on, you know? Regeneration keeps life going. And that's the ultimate transformation, is self-regeneration. Or you can regenerate yourself through art, and that art will be separate from you, but it goes on long after you're dead, right? It's a very deep concept, which is why I think this this story is so profound, and why it's a perfect myth, right? Yeah, Navi does leave at the end, and you know, I think that symbolizes the end of the hero, the end of Link's status as the hero of time. Like, he's just a regular old Hylian after that, you know? Ain't nothing special. The hero was a symbol. It was an archetypal symbol, and he embodied it, and then it left. You know, because, I mean, in real life, we really don't have this, you know? There are no real heroes. I mean, there's people who are heroic, who make great changes in society. But the archetype of the hero, that's something of psychology. That's something of the mind and of story and of myth. In a way, it's the only place where it can live. It doesn't live in the real world. That's why, you know, I tie a lot of this into Platonic philosophy, because Plato's theory of perfect forms kind of lines up with that. The perfect forms aren't in the universe anywhere. They're just frameworks that temporarily appear in various individuals and in various stories and in various places. Oh, holy crap, guys, we did it. We did it again. That's 2 times through the Ocarina of Time now. I don't think I'm going to do it again on the channel. But that leaves us with another question, though. What game do I do next? I don't know. Do I finish Kingdom Hearts? I'm sure some people would love that. Maybe. Maybe we'll finish Kingdom Hearts. I'm thinking about it. Oh, here we have the Kokiri Forest, kind of the Garden of Eden. You know, the Deku Tree even says it's the source of life. It's the navel of the world. It's the womb, which is where Link was birthed out of. And there we have a horseless, or a linkless horse. You know, this theme of emptiness. You just don't see Link in a lot of this ending scene. This is more focused on the background and the foreground, which he was working for. I have not finished Majora's Mask. No, I have not. And to be honest, I forgot what the hell I was talking about in it anyway. Expedition 33 is a game I have not played yet, but I have very much... It's in the top 5 things that I've considered playing for this channel. Yeah. I would love to do an analysis of Expedition 33. It seems very story-heavy, seems to approach issues of existentialism, so if you guys want to see me do Expedition 33, I would love to do that. I gotta buy it first, so I might have to wait for a paycheck to come in, but I do want to do that. I really do. And I would love to finish Majora's Mask, because the interesting thing about Majora's Mask is so this analysis that I've done that's coming out tomorrow, it's more about Link, Zelda, and Ganon. And Majora's Mask isn't really a game that involves Zelda or Ganondorf. It's a different story, and it's a different myth. And as opposed to a trinity, it includes a quaternity, the four great giants. So it might actually be a more complete system than the trinity of the Triforce that we see with Link, Zelda, and Ganon. And I would love to approach that as a myth. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we will. I would love to keep doing Zelda stuff too, you know. We'll just see. We'll see. I gotta see how this video does tomorrow. I'm hoping it'll perform really well. So be sure to watch it, guys. Give me a boost. Give me the views. Subscribe. I mean, you're already subscribed, but most of you. But like the video. Show it to people. Post it up places if you like it. You know, because the performance of that video is going to dictate how I approach doing lore videos going forward. Yeah. But I would love to do Expedition 33, Majora's Mask, Xenosaga. Ah, cool. I love this scene. All the sages together. Link always has to return the sword, you know? It's not his. You know? It belongs to Hyrule. He just temporarily incarnates the hero. You know? I mean, I think it could be any of us. I think that's the point, is that the sword isn't for Link, it's for you. It's for whoever's playing the game, and then, you know, when you're done playing the game, you gotta turn it off. You know, and go carry the lesson or the self-completion into real life, you know, into your actual life. And to me, that's where the real redemption happens. That's the thing about these stories about a trinity, is that trinities are great because they're incomplete, because the completion ultimately happens in yourself, because you're ultimately incomplete as an ego, right? You know, you don't realize that you're part of the universe. You think you're this thing that sort of sticks out of it. You're that uneven number 3. And realizing the number 4, or the quaternity, is falling back into the universe and realizing not only are you a self and an ego, but you can make a transformation in yourself that says, wait, I'm also the entire universe. I'm part of the cosmos and existence itself, you know, and that sort of rebalances you. That's what it means to attain enlightenment, or to be saved, or any of these high religious concepts. So, Expedition 33 changed your life? Well, that's good. I'm looking for life-changing games. Those are the ones I like to cover the most. But, oh, man. That's it, folks. That is all she wrote for this series. But yeah, I'll check out Expedition 33. Maybe we'll start it up and see where it goes. But put something in the comments for me, guys. If you want to see a new game, put it in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what you want me to play. Oh, I'm actually kind of worn out. Started going back to the gym this morning to get in shape because I got horribly out of shape this year. And I'm trying to get healthy again. So a little burnt out. Yeah, Expedition 33 it's a French title, isn't it? And I don't know of a whole lot of French-based video games, so it'd be interesting to see something that comes out of a different culture than the ones we're generally used to. You know, and I wonder if it incorporates a bunch of French philosophy, because we tend to focus on idealism and Eastern philosophies, and we don't really get into a lot of straight-up existentialism. Sometimes we do in Kingdom Hearts, but not a whole lot, so it would be interesting to see some existentialist philosophy covered in a game. I do like to stick around for the whole credits, so I'll probably do that, but that's it, folks. That's the game. That was Zelda. Ugh. And once again, check out the video tomorrow. It's called, like, the psychology of The Legend of Zelda or some such. I forget what I actually named it, but be sure to check it out. Share it, eat it, watch it 400 times in a row if you can. Would probably do pretty good for me. No, don't do that. That actually might hurt my algorithm, because that's kind of bot-like behavior, but... Oh, former Ubisoft devs. Cool. Cool. Yeah, we'll check it out. I'll at least buy the game. So I'll buy the game, and we'll see. We'll see what I can do with it. All right, folks, that's it. Thanks for joining. I'll see you later. Oh shit, Master Quest. Uh-oh. No, we don't have time. We don't have time. Okay, bye guys.